friends, Mrs. Dell here. I miss you lots. Getting into our new normal, I guess you will, for our remote learning. Today we're just gonna pick back up with some ready math, and I'm gonna introduce a lesson to you just like we would do if we were in the classroom, where I'd bring you to the floor and you'd have your workbooks. I know you guys don't have your workbooks. I did send the workbook pages to the email addresses that I have for each of you, so go ahead and either print those off, or you're welcome just to look on with them and use lined paper or blank paper, whatever works best for you. 18-1 starts off with all about fractions as division. We're going to look at the problem on page 375, so you can go ahead and go to that now, or just get some paper so we're ready to start. Page 375, lesson 18-1. Here's the problem. Just like if we were in class, normally we'd read it 3 times, however, I'm just going to read it the 1 time, and then I'm going to identify the important information that we would need to solve it, as well as what we are trying to solve. So, Mrs. Tatum needs to share 4 fluid ounces of red paint equally among 5 students. How many ounces of red paint will each student get? The information that is important here would be the 4 fluid ounces, as well as 5 friends, and this word equally, so that we're saying that everybody has the same amount. What are we trying to find out? We're trying to find out how many ounces of red paint will each student get. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for a few minutes. Go ahead and you try to come up with how would you solve this problem, and remember to support your thinking with a picture. All right, so one way that I would come up with a solution will be with fractions, and that we know that there are 4 fluid ounces. So I'm going to show 4 parts, 4 fluid ounces, if you will. And then I know that there are 5 students that need to share each of those. So I'm going to divide each of my 4 boxes into 5 parts. So knowing that I can say A, that's a student. Now that I have the 4 fluid ounces broken into 5 students, I can see that each ounce is worth, each student is worth 1/5. So if I have 1/5 here, 1/5 here, 1/5 here, and 1/5 here, right? Then I can go ahead and add 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. When we add fractions, we have to have a common denominator. We already have a common denominator, so we're just going to go ahead and add those numerators. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 4/5. So then I go back to the question. Mrs. Tatum needs to share 4 fluid ounces of red paint equally among 5 friends. How many ounces of red paint will each student get? Each student will get 4/5 of an ounce of red paint. Again, that's just one way. That's using fractions. I'm going to show you another way next. All right, so fractions, some of you may have done it. Some of you may have chose to do decimals. So here's another way to show the same thing, but with decimals rather than fractions. Start with, again, saying that 4 ounces equal 40 tenths. Okay, so I still have my 4 ounces. However, with the decimals, remember we want them into tenths. That was a fraction. Into tenths, so I'm going to divide them into tenths. Okay, in order to know how many tenths I need to shade, remember that there are 5 students. So now I'm going to take my 10 holes, 10 divided by 5 to get 2. So each student for each ounce is going to represent 2 tenths. So 2 tenths, 2 tenths, 2 tenths, 2 tenths. Whichever student, it can be any of the colors, but let's stick with orange. If this is 2 tenths, 2 tenths, 2 tenths, plus 2 tenths, then I have 2 tenths plus 2 tenths plus 2 tenths plus 2 tenths for a total of 8 tenths. So each student each student will get 8 tenths ounce of red paint. Okay? This might make sense to some of you. This might just confuse you even more. Some of you may have even just done a straight algorithm and may have said, well, I can see that there are 4 fluid ounces, so that's what I'm starting with. I know that I'm dividing it equally among 5 students, so I really just have 4 divided by 5. And if we have a division problem, we know that this automatically is a fraction to 4/5. I get it, that's great. These are just examples and pictures and models in order to support your thinking of just a standard algorithm, okay? Use what you can do. Some of you probably came up with even more awesome methods in order to solve the same problem. Do realize that the answer is either 4/5 or 8 tenths, exact same value. All right, looking forward to seeing anybody that can join us on Zoom. Mrs. Olson's class, I'd like to meet with you at 12:30, Miss Gentry at 1:15, and Mrs. Dell's class at 2 o'clock. I've sent you guys the Zoom links. If those times don't work for you and you want to join another class, that's great. I'd love to see you, love to help answer any questions that you might have regarding this lesson. Your assignment, page 376, 377, and 378. Again, they were sent in the email, but if you just want to look at them and then write your answers down on lined paper or scratch paper, that works as well. Friday, you'll get all of the answers to today's lesson and another lesson. I hope you're doing well, you guys. I miss you lots. Making lemonade out of lemons. Mwah!